Welcome. Here we are, April 12th. We're running about 31 minutes behind schedule today, but that's all right. We got a lot to unpack. Today is real opening day. I am Tom. This is Q. Welcome to the Tom and Q Show, episode 9 of our second season, believe it or not. April 12th. The weather outside is beautiful. Everything seems to be right with the world here in Cincinnati.
Sound works.
Everything seems to be on the up and up. So here we are. Special thank you last week to one of our favorite listeners, top fan, Mr. Tommy Watkins, for renewing his sponsorship for our White Oak Productions Wagon Wheel. I say wagon wheel, music wheel. I had wagon wheel on the brain.
It's a good song. Maybe we could play that.
You never know.
We can play whatever we want.
So the all's right in the world. Due to the lockout, the Cincinnati Reds started their season off in Atlanta, coming home to a 2-2 record, which basically clean slate, starting from scratch again today. Downtown Cincinnati will be covered in red. Just an amazing atmosphere, an amazing party going on down there, I'm
With
sure.
their firehouse sale, man, it was kind of cool to see them out in first place after opening day.
Yeah, right?
1-0.
162-0. Wait, 81-81. Right? Their lineups out. They're rocking, ready to go. The place is going to be awesome today, regardless of what happens the rest of the year.
So I'm looking at the lineup here, and Joey Votto, and I don't know if you've caught some of his social media hybrid into that world and some of the dances, and kudos, Joey, you're doing well, man.
For a guy that had hardly ever opened up for so many years, and now it's like he blew the top off of it. Did you happen to watch last week the fake opening day game when they played the Braves?
Oh, yeah.
When he was mic'd up?
Yes.
It was amazing. And he was mic'd up for a long time.
Yeah, he's mic'd up.
Yeah.
Say something?
Yeah. And he's just, opening it up to everybody. And the funny thing about it was, he's still playing the position.
Yeah.
So
he's answering questions.
He's trying to get back to his spot, and he's breathing heavy, but he's still trying to complete whatever answer it was that he might have had. And then people would get to first base, and then he's talking to him.
He's talking, and I can't remember who was on first, but he's
Ozzie Albies.
Yeah. He was like, who's this guy talking to? It's like, oh, I'm mic'd up. No, that was neat. And it's cool to see those personalities. And I know going to minor league ball games are really involved with the fans. So I like the Savannah Bananas. I don't know if you follow them on Twitter or you know much about them, but I don't even know if they're minor league. They're basically the Globetrotters of baseball. And they've got a lot of fun things they do with interacting with fans. So one of your favorite things in sports, when somebody hits a foul ball and a fan catches it and they say out.
Yeah, I hate that.
Well, that's a rule. If a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out at their complex.
Really?
The way they run it. Yeah, it's fantastic. So they've also got if you drop any strike, runners are allowed to go.
I did see that rule.
And ball 4,
I don't even think it has to be a strike.
any ball dropped.
I think they can
go.
They can theoretically steal first base, which as a coach has always been the saying that you can't steal first base. Well, apparently you can.
In the Savannah Bananas League, you can. And then they got on ball 4, you go as fast as you can, and excluding the pitcher and the catcher, they have to pass the ball around the horn, and it's got to get all 3 outfielders and the infield. And wherever they have it, it's as long as you can run as fast as you can to get as many bases as you can before they get to the 7th ball player to field it.
Gotcha.
So there was a guy that got a triple on a walk. Yeah, he just bolted out of the box, ran as hard as he could. Last guy got it, and he was on his way to third. They couldn't get him out. So when I was watching it, they played the Savannah Party Animals. They do their world tours, and a guy got a double off of a walk. He just came out of the gate sprinting as fast as he can, and they do around the horn, and they all pinch a little tighter together to get their system figured out to stop the advancements. So there's a lot of fun, man, and it brings fun to baseball. And all of that being said, because minor league stadiums used to have that fan interaction, shooting T-shirts, and the new age of fan interaction, I think it's kind of what the mic'd up, the Joey Votto, these guys getting involved in the social media world, just so it's, again, fan interaction.
Well,
in some kind of way.
we've talked about this before. Major League Baseball has to do something.
Something desperately bad.
They're doing all of these things. Gosh, we wrote down a list of stuff to kind of talk about, not really expecting to kind of go on so much of the changes in the game. But if you've watched, they've added this thing called PitchCom. It's like a wristband / watch that they wear on the catcher wears on their wrist, and like a helmet, like a signal caller helmet in football, that pitch, fastball, curve, whatever, goes into a receiver that tells the pitcher what to throw. It also tells the defense, I guess whoever, the way they said it the other night was the middle infielder, so second base and shortstop and center field, all would hear what pitch is being thrown.
Huh.
And the teams have, I guess they had an option on if they wanted to buy into this or try it or not. So the Braves did not. They still held the fingers down, gave the signs, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the Reds used the PitchCom. It's all about, I guess it's all about a couple, well, I shouldn't say that. I think it's for multiple reasons. A few years ago, you had the Astros debacle where they were sign stealing,
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of sign stealing if it's done properly.
I agree.
I'm not a fan of going to video, looking on the TV what the sign is, and then relaying that. I'm not a fan of that.
Correct.
Yeah, that to me is illegal. What I am a fan of as a coach, as a player, is picking up on patterns, trends, different things that different people do to be able to tell what like poker, what their next move is going to be. I think that's totally legal. I think that's what bothers me more about this PitchCom is it takes that part of it out of the game. I understand the video side of things, but I think sign stealing from its purest form is part of the game.
I agree. I mean, if you got two guys on the bench looking over, and we see tendencies, so what's the difference between stealing a sign within the confines of I think that we agree on, and as a hitter, you start to see a pitcher's tendencies on what they do. The slot of their arm out for a curveball, or do they grip? Some they will open their glove a little more to get a different grip on a different pitch. So if you can pick up on tendencies to know what the next pitch is, so then we take it a step further of, okay, so he's got tendencies on his signs, I can pick it up. Now, once you start getting, paying someone to be in the stands, cameras, review, that's to keep the game where it is. What's the difference? And I see sign stealing the same as I see a tendency that a pitcher would have on a certain pitch.
Yeah, that's how I am. I think if it's player to player, coach to coach, and you take the electronic
indicator
portion,
word I was looking for.
Yeah, you take those portions of it out of it, it's totally fine. You've got, like you said,
Patriots and Belichick cheating.
If you've got a coach sitting on the bench relaying signs to the catcher to give to the pitcher, and I've got a coach over here that is figuring out what signs are coming from that coach to the catcher, or if I got a runner on second who knows what the sign is and he's relaying it to the hitter, I think that's part of the game.
I agree. That's why you come up with good signs.
So I'm not, in that case, I'm not a fan of the PitchCom. I'm also not a fan of where they're eventually going to go anyway, which is going to be the robot umpires.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of that either. As much as, say what you want about umpires, I love the human element that's there.
Yes.
And if you want to,
I love the human element from the body of work for an entire game, an entire weekend, an entire season, of the blown calls that go against you, and then the blown calls that go for you.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's a wash.
Yeah, they end up evening.
You win games on bad calls, you lose games on bad calls.
But we've talked about this before too when we were talking about football. I would argue that if you think that you won or lost a game on a bad call,
yes,
there was more than likely multiple moments in that game where you had an opportunity to take that bad call away.
Yes.
Where it wouldn't have cost you the game. So I don't think those types of calls, I think they influence the game, but I don't think they cost games.
Interesting for the human heart on how it's so quick and easy for us to play the blame game when it's at the end of a game. Sometimes you're like, man, I should not have taken that third strike. I should have swung at that. That was a strike. I should have hit it. I should have put it in play. You're going to dismiss your own mistake,
right?
But you're easily going to, man, the ump made a bad call at first. What about you taking strike 3?
So that's great. Because
so why don't you hold yourself to the same standard that you're holding an umpire to? So you make mistakes.
We'll get into kind of my weekend, but this happened this weekend, and you refresh my memory on it. So Austin was playing, and he was batting. I was coaching third, and I want to say swung and missed or took a strike.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a strike. Might have even been a foul ball. But strike 1. The next pitch.
Alexa, play Wagon Wheel.
The next pitch was about 1.5 feet over his head.
Mm-hmm.
And he swung at it. The next pitch came in, I don't know, probably shoulder, neck, high. Probably a ball. However, the ump rung him up on strike 3. And he comes back and he's like, that wasn't a strike, that wasn't a strike. And I'm going, yes. But the pitch before, you swung at this. So, like, you can't go back and say, oh, well, that one pitch. No. What about the previous 2?
That's set up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a lot there. There's a lot there. But
you chased a ball for a strike,
yeah,
and you're mad at the umpire for calling a ball a strike.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
You get 3 of them. Not everyone's going to be perfect. Try to find the best one that fits you. Plain and simple. So anyway,
Mike Miller says, are you a fan of a guy, coach, standing by the opposing dugout, relaying the other team's signs via an Apple Watch?
No, but I'll ask Mike if that actually happened. Because he was there this weekend in our tournament. So we're gonna probably, I guess, skip ahead. So we were playing 12U tournament. Mike's boy, Austin's good buddy, MJ was on one of the teams we were playing, but we're really close friends, and they hung around and watched just as we would have hung around and watched. And we're playing this team, and we had the team that we were both on with MJ last year. That was our last game kind of together, right, with the other team. And they were really mouthy, back and forth, parents just kind of really, really interesting.
99% positive that's what he was doing.
So before the game started, or as the game started, I noticed it looked like a coach, like it dressed in the same shirt as the coach, hat, everything, standing outside of the fence, right outside of our dugout. All intents and purposes, he wasn't necessarily saying anything, but it was kind of like right where their on-deck hitter would go.
Yeah.
And so it was brought to my attention. Instead of like saying anything to the guy, I just kind of walked up to the umpire and said, hey, I'm not trying to cause a scene here, but just something you might want to keep an eye on. This guy looks like he's a coach for that team, and he's standing right by our dugout. He was like, oh, I'll keep an eye on it. Could have just been a parent that had a shirt that likes that point of view. I don't know. But he sat there or stood there like the entire game, and I'm down at third, and so I never really relayed anything necessarily to him. I don't know. It's interesting. So I guess I need some explanation on that, Mike, on kind of because. Are you saying he's standing outside of our dugout, basically coaching the other team from behind the fence, like texting the other coaches saying, "Hey, this and that"? Because here's the other thing. One,
and Mike, don't hesitate to call into the show.
Yeah, feel free. Just don't call my phone or else we'll lose it. Because one, we've only been outside 3 times. Our signs aren't that hard to steal if you really wanted to steal them anyway. 2, like, we don't really call pitches. So there's not, if he's trying to get stuff from us, it's irrelevant because we more or less just kind of roll the balls out for the most part and kind of let the kids kind of determine what happens. Not because that's how we are. It's just we just haven't had the time to do a whole lot of that stuff to where just kind of worked out. But it was the championship game of the tournament. We ended up, it was a great game by both teams. We were losing.
He said it didn't work. They lost.
Yeah, we were losing 2-0. Got a run 2-1. They had a pitcher that was throwing pretty well. I guess he had kind of ran out of gas. I had heard that he had pitched the entire game before, which to me is kind of frowned upon, but whatever it takes to win a 12U championship, I'm all for. So he comes out and he was good, and they end up taking him out after 2 innings. And after that had happened, we kind of took the game over, took a lead 4-2. And we were talking last week about the tournament when we were in, how they took the fences and they brought these softball parks, which are 300-foot fences, and they put these tearaway fences in. Well, we were playing at Joyce Park, which is the former home of Hamilton Little League. So it's a Little League regulation field. So the fences, now they were probably 6-foot high, 7-foot high fences, chain link, instead of the tearaway. But it was 193 feet down the left field line, probably 200 something to center, so for front right. So they weren't, like, it didn't take much to necessarily get the ball out of the park. And, from my standpoint, I'm like, man, it from the defensive perspective, it kind of stinks because these kids at this level can hit the ball and they get an opportunity to hit home runs. Now, on the flip side of that, they get the opportunity to hit home runs, legitimate home runs that they wouldn't get, had they just run it. Run an inside the park home run. Yeah. Right? So it is kind of cool to see.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah, that they may have never felt before. And so we played there. We ended up playing 3 games. We had, I think, 2 home runs on Saturday. I think we hit 2 home runs on the first game, or 1 or 2 home runs the first game Saturday, and then which it was awesome because you've seen Austin, he's not very big, and we have a boy on the team that he's about the same size as Austin, and he comes up and ball goes up, and it's like you want to just blow this ball out because it's like go ball, go, because a kid like Austin or his name's Brody, a kid like Brody, like, they're not the biggest kids in the world. Right. So who knows how many times they're going to actually get to experience that in their life. Yeah. So as the ball goes out, and it's like, it was just so awesome, right? It was awesome. And then, anyway, going back to the championship game, we have 2 outs. We play 6 innings. I think it was the top of the 5th, and we're up 4-2. Little bloop base hit. Guy steals second. It's like, all right, we just need 1 out, relax. And one of their guys pops one out into center field to tie it. And it's like, oh, man. But you're like, okay, this is kind of fun. This
cool
is
for my kid, not your kid.
But it's like, it's kind of it's fun. It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And so it's 4-4. And we've got a kid he's bigger than me.
So I saw a video. Somebody destroyed a ball. Was that him? Okay.
Yeah. We won't talk about the other one that he destroyed earlier because that one is more personal to some people. Yeah. But he's a big kid. Right. He's a big kid, and he's not just a big kid. He's a big athletic kid. Yeah. Right. And so first game we play, he gets hit twice. 2 pitches, gets hit twice. Not on purpose, but he gets hit. Right. I mean, he's intimidating. You got to get up there. He's intimidating. Yeah. Okay. Well, the next.
How do I throw to this guy?
The next time up, this was Saturday. The next time up, moon ball. I'm talking, no doubter, 200-foot fences. This sucker was probably hit 300 feet. I mean, it was crushed, and he kind of he was kind of upset that he had gotten hit twice and kind of bat flipped a little bit. And, it's that gamesmanship, that showmanship a little bit. Hey, you hit me twice. I just took you deep. Take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. In the same, in the same sense, the other bench is like, after seeing that, like, next time we're hitting him. So we play this team again the next time. And I didn't agree with this at all.
They hit him?
No.
Oh.
To me, almost worse in the sense that they intentionally walked him every time. And it wasn't an intentional walk of like, hey, let the pitcher throw 4 balls. It was, he comes up, didn't matter what the situation was. He comes up, put him on first.
Oh, so you don't have to throw the 4 pitches? You can just send them?
No, they just sent him over there. And I'm like, throw the kid the 4 pitches.
See, that's another rule that I don't like. Because we played in a tournament, 12U tournaments, going back in time a little bit. But we had a really, really good hitter come up, and they had to throw the 4 pitches. And it's pitchers are like robots, man. They get into their groove, and when you get them out of it, there's mistakes. So the girls just, catcher stands up, and the catcher went up after it, and I was like, ooh. This girl's used to just whipping it in. I said, there might be a mistake on throwing ball 4. And there was. She threw it, and it got by the catcher, and then we had a girl on third, came home and scored. Also, trying to intentionally walk, but they couldn't. So that goes to the element of the game of, like, if you're going to walk them, you have to throw the 4 pitches.
I don't have a problem with it. I really don't have a problem with
just pointing.
Go. The reason being is kind of the same but opposite of what you just said. If there's a situation, it's late in the game, and you've got a base open, and they've got a pretty good hitter up, or you need the bases loaded, you know what? Just put the guy on. That way, the pass ball is taken out of it, and then you're just playing baseball.
Right.
In this situation, it's not like there was a situation where, hey, there's a base open. Hey, it didn't matter if he was the leadoff hitter. It didn't matter if he came up with bases loaded. They were putting him on. And the competitor in me, one, as a parent, that would have ticked me off.
Yeah.
To just put him on. Like, who cares? They're 12 years old.
Right.
Learn how to try to teach him at this point how to pitch. Pitch
Correct.
around him, that's fine. Heck, hit him.
Correct.
At least he gets the opportunity to move out of the way. But he's as big as he is and athletic as he's still 12 years old at the end of the day.
Correct.
Right? And yeah, I wasn't for that.
I tell my kids, and I think it's similar, we won't go on a rant, but I tell the girls all the time, like, you don't get better at conversation by not having conversation. Where I'm going with that is the kid will never get better at pitching if he doesn't pitch.
Well, and it's
like, you need to understand
it's the challenge, though, too.
Yes, like,
you're
I need
teaching
to refine my craft.
Well, you're also teaching them at that point, like, I get it if there's a base open and he's in a situation, like, yeah, put him on. I don't want to face him. I mean, that's a show of respect, as a hitter.
Right.
But in the same sense, like, if my kid's on the mound, like,
let him pitch to him.
Let him pitch to him. Or pitch around him and say, hey, he's dangerous. We're not going to give him anything to hit. Let's see if hitter. I tell my kids all the time, hitters are stupid. They will find a way to get themselves out.
Yes.
They will. They will fail 6 or 7 times.
Yes.
Out of 10.
Yes.
So your odds, I'm a big odds guy, your odds are better that he's going to hit or swing at a bad ball and get himself out. Carson was pitching against Moeller. This kid, I think, was an Ohio State commit. This was in a scrimmage. And he had given up a double, struck the next guy out, and he threw a pitch from my standpoint, from his standpoint. How this kid got the barrel on the ball, no idea. I mean, it was probably 6 inches off of his chest, shoulder high. The kid got the barrel on the ball and hit it out. Did you make a good pitch? Yes. Did he hit it? Yes. Okay. Isn't that baseball?
That's baseball. That's well said.
It's the game is so, one, it's so good at the purest form.
Yep. That
it's hard for kids and players to understand. It'd be different if you left a flat pitch over the plate and he blasted it. You know, like, that's different.
Yes.
You make your pitch and he still beat you. Tip the old hat to him.
That's all you can do.
Move on to the next one.
That's all you can do.
Like in this situation, yes, that kid won. Pitch around the guy. Pitch around him. Throw it this far outside. See if he chases.
Yep.
Nope. We're just gonna put him on. And from our perspective, especially at this age, you have 70-foot bases. He's almost 6 foot tall. It takes him like 3 steps to get. So you're turning a walk into a triple.
Yeah.
On top of that, Austin is pretty good at getting on base too. So he leads off. This kid was batting second. So you're gonna put him. Austin's gonna get on more times than not. You're gonna follow him up with the
runner on second and third.
Yeah. With your 3-hole hitter up every time.
Yep.
Like to me, that's a losing formula, if you ask me. But that was the weekend. So anyway, back to the championship game.
Alexa played Dirk Bentley, My Last Name.
So this again, it was a good game. We're tied up. We only play 6 innings. Well, here comes Josh. He's leading off. He's leading off the bottom of the 6th. And first pitch, I mean, he absolutely just swung out of his shoes. I mean, just giant. He was trying to finish it, trying to end it. I've been trying to teach him, like, learn how to go to right, because that's teaching you to wait longer. That's teaching your barrel to stay in the zone longer.
Yep.
So have a purpose when you're taking batting practice. So the next time this kid throws him up this curveball, and he got lucky. He missed it, fouled it straight up into the air, and the catcher went to the fence and didn't catch the pop-up. Like, it would have been tough. Like, he had to come a long way to get it, kind of went to the fence.
Sure.
The same catcher, though, I also saw basically climb the fence the game before to catch one. So it was like...
Kid's a player.
Yeah. So, but sure enough, the video you saw, next pitch, boom, 0-2 count, line drive, good hit. Like, it wasn't like bomb, like the night before. Like, this was line drive into the gap. The fences just couldn't... It was a rocket.
How much trash do you guys hear from other teams? Like, oh, see birth certificates.
Well,
at the pictures, like you see Austin and you see this grown man.
Yeah.
And just the way he swung the bat, I was like, that
when I
kid's
first
not well.
met him, right, when we first kind of put this team together, I didn't know the head coach. We kind of did a little search process and kind of came about with a group of families, kind of 3 teams and then some new families. So we weren't really sure entirely what we were getting into. And when I first met Josh, his son, I changed his name immediately to BC, birth certificate. You better have it every single time that you show up to the park, because that question is gonna come up.
100%.
Yeah.
That's
So
hilarious.
anyway, that was we'll get into your weekend here in a little bit, but that was kind of ours. We played Saturday. So last Friday night we played a night game at 8:00. And it was cold. Like, I'm dressed, like I said, I'm dressed to go sledding. The tournament organization, they send out all these messages like, oh, we care about the players' safety, we're monitoring the forecast, blah, 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 blah. It was like 37 degrees when we took the field and windy on Saturday. And they're like, how much do you care about the kids' safety now? Oh, we got to get these games in. We got to get our gate fee. Games are all on as scheduled. Like, really? Like, we couldn't go last week, or you push games back because it was cold, or you cancel games last night because it was cold. But now that it's colder, windier, blustier, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it. Sunday turned out to be great. I went from wearing darn near coveralls to shorts the next day. That's just Cincinnati weather.
Right.
But it was a tremendous job. We won the tournament. Super proud of everybody that was involved there. It was a ton of fun. It's just a good group. Good group. Interesting storyline. I'm sure there'll be more to kind of.
Congratulations on the bling bling.
Yeah, the kids got rings. It is fun.
I do like that. Instead of the trophy, the kids get the rings now. I think it's kind of it's cool looking.
I wish there was a different type of trophy. I'd almost rather you go with a T-shirt, honestly, because there's so many of these tournaments, and I don't know how it is in softball, but so many of these tournaments, I mean, it's a $5 ring. They're all ring tournaments, and it's great. It's a great photo op, the kids and all their rings and everything, but, I've got a pile of rings, of cheap rings upstairs. You know.
Well, it's better than a shelf full of cheap trophies.
That's true too. That's why I said just give me a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I would love the T-shirts.
I like the
are awesome.
T-shirt.
Put your
Turning
T-shirts on.
chance.
Yeah. You know. But yeah. So anyway, podcast stats. Let's take a look and see how we did.
Yeah, we got a little drifted on the updates of the game and
We
the
went from
changing of the rules and
opening day to fake opening day to the rules to my weekend and
1989, good year, top 40, number 16. So, giving shout out to Tommy Watkins and White Oak Production. This is our wheel that helps us get some background noise going. And there's 3 layers. We pick a year, we pick a genre, and then whatever ranking that song, that genre was for that year. And that's how we come up with the formula of picking our background. So we got 1989, top 40, number 16 song of that year.
Ooh, I'm gonna guess
1989.
Don't tell me. I'm going to guess that it is. I'm struggling here to find it, but I'm gonna say it is by a hairband. And I'm gonna say, is it Poison? Every Rose Has Its Thorn.
Let's see. Top 40 songs, 1 through. I said number 16.
Number 16.
Milli Vanilli, Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You.
Oh, I was gonna say Blame It on the Rain.
Alexa, play Milli Vanilli, Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You.
Gonna miss you, girl, I'm gonna miss you.
What's so Amazon's just not? Are they not available anymore? What are they? Alexa, play Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You.
Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You by DJ in the Night on Amazon Music.
Sounds. This is it. I wonder if they just.
Did they change the names of the people?
Yeah, so because they lip sync and it never was Milli Vanilli.
So they actually are
So
getting
they're giving
credit.
it-
Didn't we
yes.
talk about this?
I don't think so.
I think we talked about like whatever happened to why didn't the
Yeah.
it is.
This
It's
is it.
Was it Rob and Fab? Was that their
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of
Girl, I'm
fake
gonna miss you.
and fake opening day,
This is fake opening
I
day
swear that
2.0
that
because
was
Red should have.
not planned. We did pick up 4 new downloads from Getting Jiggy with It.
Ooh.
Um,
all right.
But last week we talked about fake opening day. 7 downloads from fake opening day. Let's take a look and see. Let's break it down. A couple people watched it yesterday, probably just to catch up or make sure they're not behind. Right?
That's it.
So 71% in the United States, 14% in India, 14% in Frankfurt, Germany. Hans, Booby, welcome. Welcome back. We love that you listen. Cincinnati, Ohio, Mason, Ohio, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Cloverdale, Ohio. I did not know where Cloverdale, Ohio is. Interesting.
Since we're going to be talking about Dora today,
Yep.
Dora the Explorer, I'll get my handy dandy map out. Clover what?
Cloverdale. Matt Appleman says he hates the rings. Save the rings for the highest level. I hate the rings. I don't care what level you play at. I think there's something. I'm with Quentin though in terms of like the cheap trophies. You know how many of those? You know I'm 43. First time I've said that. I'm 43 years old, and you can go into my storage room. You can go into my parents' storage room, and you can see those old plastic trophies that just constantly get recycled over and over and over again. The rings are cool, I feel like once, and then after that, give me a T-shirt.
I think you won me over. I didn't
Give me a
give
bat.
much pushback,
Like,
but I think the T-shirt is cool, man, because they can just walk around and wear it to school. Like
Yeah.
I'm a tournament champ.
Give me
You can't do anything with a ring or a trophy.
cash. You see.
There's that.
Here's.
I like a cool little bat.
Yeah.
Like a souvenir
Something.
bat, something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Do something
I don't know
different.
what the cost of those are.
I mean, that's really what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably,
Those rings are cheaper than trophies.
yeah, yeah.
T-shirts could be. You print off a bazillion of them.
Yeah, I mean, a World Series ring, if that's what Matt's talking about, like in the Major League Baseball, yes, that is the coolest.
Yeah.
Pro football, Super Bowl ring, those are the coolest.
So, Matt, do you see the ring for the little leaguers as kind of like the participation trophy, making them feel like they've won the whole thing? Just you all play, you get to feel like a big leaguer and get to rock a championship ring, your fake ring.
I mean, it is all about the kids, and I guess as long as they feel
They
that
love
way,
it, don't they?
then that's really all that matters.
All the photo ops are
Yes.
all like,
Yeah.
they love the rings.
You know, but maybe toss in
I'm
a
gonna
T-shirt or
miss
two for the
you.
coach. I'm just saying. Maybe that's where I'm going with it.
Fair enough.
So every week over the last few, I keep looking. I'm watching the opening day parade kind of on TV, and so Blake and Austin and their grandma are down there. So I told him, I said, I'd watch out for you and see kind of if I could pick them out on
we
TV.
gotta have
So you're looking for little redhead in a Reds hat. Austin has a black Reds hat. I even told him, like, maybe you get to see Joe Burrow today because he's throwing out the first pitch. Jamar Chase is getting his Rookie of the Year trophy, which I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty cool. The
opening
Bengals,
day.
it's the other thing, the Bengals, too, they're getting an indoor practice facility.
I
at
saw
some
that.
point.
I saw that. A bubble, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what freaks me out kind of about that? Yeah, I agree, Mike. Buy the coach's beer. Yes. You know, and that brings me to another
A
point.
mug, a championship mug.
Yes.
Bam.
Several of them. Big old glass Stein, right?
You just stand in the ballpark and just drink out of your championship mug.
Or, you know what? Maybe, here's a better idea. Let's run a tournament. You know, have you ever been at a company where you've gotten, like, your anniversary gift?
Yeah.
Where they give you, like, the catalog, and it's like, you can get such and such. Like, you can get a fishing reel. You can get this grill. You can get a Snuggie. You know, and it has the company's logo on it.
Right.
Like, what if you gave, like, before the tournament, like, everybody had to pick, like,
I hope a tournament
or
director is
after,
listening to
yeah,
this.
like after it, like you just like, hey, here's your catalog. Let me know what you want. We'll send it to you in 10 weeks. In like 10 weeks, if you're really good, you get a pile up of cheap
1986
gifts.
hip hop. Oh yeah. Number. We rock chalk.
Now, see that, Matt, that I agree with. When they're younger and they give those rings out, and if you're fortunate enough to be on those teams that constantly are winning tournaments or finishing second, whatever the case might be, and you're stockpiling these $5 rings, it loses its value, right? It loses its intended value on the kid. You can't really take that moment away though, when they all kind of pile up and they take that photo op and you know, everybody puts their hand in and they've got the rings on. It just looks cool, and the kids love it. But as a parent, when those things stockpile up, eventually what are you going to do with them? Yeah, nothing. They're nothing at all. They're going to be takes up less space than those trophies though. So that's another thing that it gives them over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like being in high school, you know, it's a little bit different level. So at that point, it becomes more special, and the rings are different. I've got a college conference championship ring from, gosh, so many years ago when I played. But we won our conference. It was cool as heck. But the ring to me doesn't mean nearly as much as when we won it, the dog pile on the pitcher's mound. You know what I mean? Just like we were talking about, like Josh's home run. Like, the rings are cool, but they're going to remember him crossing home plate and, like, the kids doing the gritty and all that, you know, all that type of thing, and those memories more than they will the actual ring. The ring is probably already lost somewhere. You know?
Yes.
But, no, it's those moments that are just awesome. So, anyway, going backwards. Thank you, Mike.
Alexa, play Beastie Boys, Paul Revere.
So...
Paul Revere.
This is cool.
Boys on Amazon Music.
So Matt, I'm gonna ask you a question. You're in Oklahoma. which to me is awesome that you're listening to us in Oklahoma. How'd you come about finding us? I'm curious.
Cousin.
Your cousin?
Jessica's cousin. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Family.
Oh, Jessica's cousin, not Quentin's cousin. Oh, okay, good. Never mind. Well, that's awesome. So that we have now found one person that's not in Cincinnati,
Yeah.
and he is not Hans. Fantastic. So Oklahoma, that's a pretty big baseball place. They have, I know that they used to, and you can tell me, Matt, if it's still true. They used to, or still do, host many of the youth World Series in Oklahoma City and so on and so
Huge
forth.
softball. ASA
Softball,
home,
too?
Hall of Fame. Yep. That's where
awesome.
So girls softball, like guys baseball, they always play in Omaha, Nebraska. Girls always play in Oklahoma City because it's ASA Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
They do the whole thing. So it's kind of cool to start the season. The girls that aspire to get there, they'll have like a silhouette of Oklahoma on their jerseys, on their hats, and it's just like baseball, man. They're all in to get to Omaha, so they're all in to get to Oklahoma City. So they'll have OKC on their stuff because that's the goal. That's the pinnacle for the sport. So yeah, it's neat. And Oklahoma softball team this year is an absolute juggernaut. They're 36-0, the best start in NCAA history. 30 run rules. That's 8 after 5. So 30 of their 36 wins have been the mercy rule.
We used to have a saying in softball, because I have, and patting myself on the back, I have as many Metro championships as Tom Brady has Super Bowls. So we used to say, okay, you get a run rule, you get a run rule, you get a run rule, you get a run rule. They have more run rules than anybody I can possibly imagine. Like, how do you just, like, how awesome of a feeling would that be? You just show up like, game's only going to take about, I don't know, 30, 35 minutes. And so, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, wherever it is. Like, yeah, it's fine. That's confidence. That's awesome. Strong.
Yeah. It's crazy to play Oklahoma this year and just say, hey, we kept them within 7.
Yeah.
We played an entire game.
Moral
Like,
victories.
good for you guys.
Yeah, way to go. We are improving. It was
It's just an absolute juggernaut of a team, and it's insane to watch. Everybody in their lineup just smashes. And they have the best defense in college softball, and the best pitching. It's just
Is that where Jenny Finch went?
no. She is Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah. So I know 2 girls softball players. Oh, 3. I know Paige. My favorite one.
Yes.
Jenny Finch
All right.
and Lisa Fernandez.
Okay.
And the only reason I know Lisa Fernandez is because Nicole played softball, and I think she had a TPS bat that was signed by Lisa Fernandez. You know, in scripted.
Yeah.
Lisa Fernandez, the Lisa Fernandez model.
That's good.
Anyway, man, we got off track there.
A little bit.
So the last few weeks, we've kind of inserted some real estate topics just to kind of, maybe help somebody out, maybe better educate somebody, or at least kind of give our opinion in regards to kind of the current market, the current state, and if there's any way that we can break down some things kind of to borrow a line from Kent Murphy, from a fundamental standpoint, right? And so today,
Put the fun and fundamental.
yeah, fun and fundamental, putting the real in real estate. Today we are going to talk about appraisals. We had talked about in the last few weeks. We talked about it's a buyer's market, or it's a seller's market. It's really hard to buy. We kind of gave some tips, some trends on what people are doing, regardless, right or wrong. We gave our opinions on inspections, things people are doing to win the contract, the crazy things, the things that I believe are illegal type stuff that people are doing. And then last week we broke down kind of our opinions on inspections and kind of what happens and what takes place inside the process. So assuming that you're buying a place and you've got a contract, you've either waived an inspection or you've done your inspection, you are happy with the current condition of the home. The next step, if somebody's getting a mortgage, is the bank will send out a third-party appraiser, which is basically saying, hey, is this property worth what the bank is willing to give you for it?
Yes.
In their opinion. Because obviously you have a listing agent who has his opinion of a price. You have a buyer's agent who they have their opinion of a price. This kind of third party is somebody completely outside of the actual transaction.
Yep. It's the checks and balance of the system to make sure it all goes well. Because at the end of the day, and I just look at it, to the bank, that house is just collateral. There's nothing more emotional to it
It's
than
a piece
that.
of paper.
So if you default on that loan and that bank inherits that property, they can't lend you $400,000 on something that's worth $250,000. So they are going to. It's the checks and balance for the bank to protect themselves in case you do default on it. They will inherit what its true value is. So there are, if you're putting a certain dollar amount down, sometimes they will waive those appraisals because they become obsolete because you've got skin in the game, money, cash. So there are times that the bank will go ahead and bypass that appraisal, but not common.
Not common. No, because it's too much risk to them.
Yes.
To do that. And, so you're seeing, and appraisals right now are important, and I'd like to get your opinion, kind of on the trend and what we see, kind of in terms of it. But, obviously a buyer more times than not is paying over the list price.
Yes.
Right? And so us as listing agents, when we are on that side of it, we do our due diligence to look at comparable homes that have sold in a close area.
Mm-hmm.
I get the question all the time, like, Zillow says this, right? And there are some times where my numbers, your numbers, they'll match what that Zillow number is. And that's okay, but from our standpoint, when we go and we do that work, we have a boots on the ground mentality. We're not just looking at that said zip code, that said state. We are looking at your neighbors. We are looking at their neighbors, the person behind them,
Yes.
the person on the corner. We are looking at their particular place, and we are digging into exactly if that house sold, what went into that particular house to get that particular price, and where does that compare to the house that I'm going to be putting on the market, right?
Right.
And so, using simple math, I have a $100,000 property that I put on the market. I feel strong that $100,000 in this market, we're going to get that $100,000 or close to that $100,000. Buyer comes in, multiple buyers, they put multiple offers on the place. Somebody comes in and they offer $150,000. From my standpoint, from the listing agent, my advice to that seller, assuming all other offers come in at or near what we're asking, either above or beyond, is most of the time I'm going to say it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of money. This is how crazy buyers are. The amount of money over it is from what you were probably expecting.
Yes.
And so you have this, in this case, you have this $50,000 gap.
Correct.
Right? And these appraisers, they go out and in my opinion, I'll give my opinion on
And an appraisal is just an opinion.
It's a price opinion, right?
Yep.
It's a third party opinion of value.
Yep.
Right? And so when you're talking about that standpoint, you have that type of gap. I think we both kind of school because we do that work up front, and we school our sellers on basically saying, hey, it's worth the risk, but understand, like, we've done a lot of this work up front.
Yes.
There's a good chance that $150,000, that extra $50,000 is a fictitious number.
Yes.
We still think it's going to be good, and we still think we're going to get that range that we had worked so diligently to find, or better. But this number, that's all it is a number right now.
Correct.
So then, do you find that people, I have not done this, and I don't like it, and I think it's unethical. Do you find that buyers and buyers agents are purposely going super high, knowing that it's never going to appraise at that value?
Well, yeah, but you've also got an appraisal gap that you can counter back with and put into play. So it's in that scenario, using those exact numbers. If I got a house and all arrows point to $100,000, and then somebody just drops a bomb of 150, and in my mind, it's like, man, I don't know that that's going to appraise for 150. Hey, we'll go ahead and move forward with this transaction, but you're going to put in an appraisal gap saying you're going to eat the difference. So if this thing only appraises for 125, you're still buying at 150. I'm not even messing with this scenario of, hey, just win, and then when it doesn't appraise, we'll renegotiate. No. So there is that mindset as well. So that way you can avoid messing with that fictitious number, and I think that's a great way of putting it, because nobody knows what that number is going to be.
So explain.
And then go ahead.
Explain to them what is the appraisal gap, because it's relatively new.
Yeah.
In terms of trends and things that are happening.
It's just the gap, the difference between what the offer is and what the house appraises for. So in that scenario of the 120, I just tell my buyers, like, guys, write a ridiculous offer. We'll crush it. We'll win it because they're going to pick us. And then when the appraisal comes back low, we'll end up buying the house probably for like 130.
Yeah.
But we just want to come in above and beyond anybody else. So that is a mindset that a buyer may have coming into this, until that seller counters back and says, hey, you guys are on the hook for the difference. So if it does not appraise at 150, you're still going to buy it for 150, and you just got to come out of pocket that $30,000 to buy it down from 150 to 130, and then you're going to start with your down payments, because that's where the finances start, is what the house appraises for. So yeah, it's just putting the buyer on and there's other scenarios that I've written up contracts that my buyer is willing to cover up to $8,000 on the appraisal gap. So in that case, it's, the 130 is the appraisal. My people are willing to bring an additional $8,000, so we'll buy the house for 138. Still above appraised value. You, seller, you're still making $38,000 more than you anticipated, just not 50.
And there are things with that appraisal, even without the appraisal gap, going back to, I would call it more traditional market.
Yeah.
There are when you're talking about a real estate transaction, pretty much anything can be overcome.
Yeah, 100%.
So, we talk
just
about
money, right?
Yeah, and that appraisal gap kind of it puts the cart a little bit in front of the horse.
Yeah.
In regards to that is, if it doesn't appraise, the seller still has the right to reduce that price if they want to what it appraised for. The buyer still has the right to bring more money down to make that work, or more times than not, you find out that they ultimately kind of meet somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
And so anything inside the transaction can be overcome. Now, I can tell you from experience, there's a cash is king,
Cash is king.
And if you are purchasing cash, you still have the right to get that appraisal. I've never written a cash contract where somebody has chosen to get the appraisal. Not that that's right, not that that's wrong.
Right.
It's just kind of one less. It's the market, right? It's one less contingency that specific seller has to worry about.
Correct.
If you think it's worth $150,000 and you got $150,000 in cash, what does it really matter what this appraiser says?
Correct.
Because right now you are telling me that this is what it's worth, and that's what it's worth to you. And we know what market value is, right? Market value is what are you not willing to spend $1 over to get this house. Whatever the customer is willing to pay for whatever product that is what it's worth to that said person.
Yes.
And so we had a situation a few years ago, a few years ago.
But then that's when the checks and balance comes in.
Correct.
Because, hey, grandma lives around this corner, so I'm willing to pay an extra $50,000 because I want to be close to grandma. And the bank says, well, what if you default on that? I don't care about grandma.
Yeah.
I just care that my collateral is worth what it's worth.
I can get this.
Because I don't want to
back.
inherit this $500,000 house.
No.
Or this $350,000 house that
and the
I
checks and
may not
balances is a good way to put it, because that's exactly what it is. Because especially in this type of market, you've got sellers wanting astronomical prices for their houses, and buyers willing to pay that astronomical price.
So the bank will say, hey, I'm willing to pay up to. My words got. If you're willing to bring cash, I'm willing to finance up to this dollar amount, because again, it is my risk because I'm lending the money. So I'll lend you $130. Anything else, you bring the cash to settle the difference.
Yep.
I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
So now nobody cares because cash is king.
Cash is king. And even in case sometimes that appraisal will freak out listing agents and sellers. Using an example, there was a house a couple weeks ago we looked at, and there's some different contingencies with this specific buyer, but the house was listed somewhere short of 400, and my mindset, I'm looking at the house and pictures and where it's at, and I'm like, okay, this is going to go for 450. Like, we know that it's in multiple offers. I talked to the agent. I said, we've got a really strong offer. What does your sellers want? How can we get this done? What type of, even asking the question, what type of offers do you have?
Yeah.
Are you north of 500? Is 500 unrealistic?
Yeah.
And the response to me was, and she was very candid in saying it, was, we have one that is really close to 500. It's a conventional loan, but I have one that's not anywhere near 500. It's more closer to what we're actually listing, but it's cash. I'm like, okay, that I appreciate the information. I would have probably consulted my sellers to kind of take the risk on that type of money.
Like, do you want to wait another 3 weeks for $50,000?
Right.
Yes.
And so,
because typically buyers in that price point, the loan's going to get done.
Yeah, and so it actually closed this week, and I saw it, and it sold for $410,000 cash. And we were, like I said, we were willing to go up to 450.
And you would have lost anyway.
And we would have lost anyway. So the point of that story is,
wow,
cash is king, and even though you throw an astronomical price out there, it doesn't guarantee you anything. It's really about what is of value to that said seller.
Yeah.
It could be money. Probably more times than not, it's money. There's also other things that go into it.
We got one on closed on. The occupancy was massive, and the offers were all relatively the same. But where you get that one person at 410, somebody writes 500. It's like, whoa, 90 days occupancy post closing, rent free.
Yeah,
it's like, just put everything else away.
Yeah,
that eliminates so much stress. That eliminates so much thought. That because my people are going to be homeless, once they're sold, and they needed that time built in, and it's. For $4,000, for $5,000, for $10,000, do you want to go through the anxiety on the other end of this transaction? No, give me the 90 days all day. I'll bypass, that dollar amount.
Yeah,
because of comfort.
Yeah, I don't have to rush, to find a place. So you're finding, when you're talking about winning, occupancy is a huge deal.
Yeah,
it's a huge deal. And before I even got in the business, and if you talk to folks that probably our parents' age that had bought houses, in the early 80s, even before that, it was normal to close and have 30 days occupancy.
Yeah, it still is pretty normal in Indiana marketplace.
So now, when I first got into the business, it was, hey, we want occupancy at closing.
Yeah.
Well, now it's kind of reverting back. Like, man, it's really hard to buy a house. Like, we need some time.
Yes, it is.
So it's kind of done a 180. So. Yeah, that's kind of our take, kind of on appraisals, kind of what you can do, what to expect. Hopefully that we explained it well. We kind of give our opinions in there. Nothing.
There's a lot of horrors out there, and I haven't had one in the last year and a half.
Yeah,
I haven't had an appraisal come back low.
Yeah, I've had them, but it's still better. Again, if we do our work.
If you
up
put
front.
Your house on the market, hey, I want 250. Okay. Offers drive up to 285, then it comes back and appraises at 275. You're still winning
because you were okay here. At this point.
Yes,
you're gonna be fine. So
I'll take the $25,000 you didn't want in the first place.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's interesting. So that's kind of our take on that. We had some stuff kind of talking about the weekend. I thought this was interesting and cool because we know we're close to this particular project, this particular program. Top fan of the program, Mr. Jake Haverkamp. His brother passed away, I think they said 16 years ago, in a car accident, and they started the Haverkamp Foundation. Their biggest, it's funny, going backwards, we did the show with them, And I'm watching the news. I want to say it was Saturday. I could be wrong. This weekend. I'll just say this weekend. In the morning, and the coverage, it was Channel 19 here in Cincinnati. They were at Spring Grove Cemetery, and they had a reporter there. They had cameras there. They're talking to officers. They're talking to Nancy, who you and I have talked to on occasion. Like, the coverage that they got in the stories that they were telling was amazing. It looked like a great turnout. The weather wasn't the best, but it looked like a great turnout. Looked like a great event. So put that on your calendar for next year. What was funny about that is we're standing in the kitchen. Nicole and I are, and we're watching the interviews, and they're interviewing one of the police officers. And I said to her, I said, man, I did that same interview with a different police officer and got the same answers about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, however long it was, and nobody got to hear it. If we'd have got to hear it, we'd have been so far out ahead of everybody else. I was like, that just was how good that show was that nobody got to hear. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. Congratulations to them and all the work and stuff that they do. It was awesome to see, kind of being close to them and knowing some of them and what they do, to see the coverage that they got. So
yeah,
kudos to them. Kudos to Channel 19 for doing that. So how was your weekend?
Kind of not too eventful. I mean, it was. I shared on Facebook that I had the peer pressure of neighbors cutting grass. So Sunday is carpool day for me for synchronized swimming. So it took Audrey to swim, and I actually drove down to NKU to watch one of the West Claymont ball players playing for Robert Morris now. So when you carpool
synchronized swimmers, how many people are in the car?
Sometimes it is 5, sometimes it's 4.
So when you ask a question, do they all answer the exact same at the exact same time?
No.
Are they all doing the exact same thing, practicing at the exact same time?
That is the new standard in the car.
Anyway, I just thought of that.
No, that would be hilarious. We should do a video of that. That's synchro carpool.
Sounds like a TikTok.
It does sound like a TikTok. I'm gonna have to talk to Audrey and get set up on that. So yeah, I drove down to Northern Kentucky. I dropped him off at Finneytown YMCA. Drove down to Northern Kentucky. Watched Northern Kentucky and Robert Morris, because one of our kids from West Claymont plays for Robert Morris. That's kind of the highlight of my weekend, I guess. It was really laid low. Friday, UMass softball. I felt bad for Paige and the whole team, the whole program. It's one of those situations like, this can't happen, and there's got to be a better way to figure this out at this level. So they drive from Amherst to Boston, which is like an hour and 40 minutes, and they were flying from there to basically Washington, D.C., because they were playing George Mason. So they make the commute Friday morning. They get there, plenty of time. I think it was like a midday flight, like 5 o'clock flight or something like that. Delayed. Here they are at 11:30. They load up, and they board up on the plane, pull out on the tarmac, getting set, turn around, come back to the gate. The pilot cannot fly because he's going to meet his hours requirement. Like, didn't he know that before he got on the plane? Like, it's like, math is pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple, especially when you're counting like 8-hour shifts and 8 hours sleep time. And I think it was from the time he would have flown to the time he had to wake up that next morning.
Yeah.
They ran into that window. So anyway, they come back to the terminal. They're sitting there. They're hanging out. It's like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Because there's no more flights that night. And they were supposed to play at noon the next day. Coaches are scrambling around trying to get transportation. And it's an 8-hour drive from Boston to Fairfax. It's like, do we make the drive? Well, can't tonight. We've got to sleep. So they're like, all right, so here's the plan. We're going to drive tomorrow, reschedule the games. Doubleheaders are no longer Saturday. Now they're Sunday. And then we'll play one on Monday. Paige was like, that sucks because I got a lab Monday. And all the girls were like, I've got class Monday. I've got this Monday. And it's so it
difference between girls and guys, because I would have been like, yes.
And so they made the drive down. So kudos to the coaches for handling that situation. The other thing is the hotels that put them up. They only got 4 rooms. So there were like 3 girls to a bed. two girls to like. It's,
Also, difference between guys and girls.
we're sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping in the tub.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sleeping with two other dudes in the same
No.
bed. Like it's just not happening. But you just like, and it was JetBlue because one of the girls tweeted. You know, it wasn't taking shots at JetBlue or anything. It was just noting that was the airline that they were dealing with, and it's like there is no way that you can let that happen to a program or organization like that. And it's something that we just, I guess you don't think a lot about, that weekend travel of any flight delay, anything like that. It just, but Paige was sending a text. I think the last text she sent Jessica, because with Jessica working third shift, it's like 3:04 in the morning.
Oh, geez.
They were still trying to like scumble around and get this done. And she just took a picture of like everybody in the room. It's like, oh my goodness, man. It's like kudos, but they go down, drive all day Saturday, play 2 games Sunday, win both games Sunday, which is fantastic.
Yes, that's hard to do.
Because it's A-10 games, and it's just to throw you off center, to get down there. Great pitching, great hitting. Yesterday, one of the girls, their second baseman, Abby Packard, who's just one of those kids that just great grit, just hustles. She was on NCAA softball highlight reel as making a diving catch.
Nice.
You know, that no man's land behind first, where first drops that shoulder, right field strucking, and then she just comes screaming out of nowhere and just laid out. And she, so great play, Abby. Great job for UMass softball this weekend to overcome a little adversity. You know, you look at moments like that and people get moody and upset and flustered, and or they don't, and they say, hey, you know what, we're on this together. Let's bond over it and let's do something with it. And it's you know, I don't know what happened, but they won 2 games, and hopefully that it brought them together, and they can kind of look at each other and say, hey, we just went through an annoying thing, because it's not like life altering, but it's still annoying and it's frustrating. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you haven't gone to bed, you start getting moody, you start getting irritable. You don't want to be around them people anymore.
I'll use the line, a good story is better than a good time any day, right? And so I can almost guarantee you that every one of those girls they'll probably remember the delays, the issues at the airport, what they did, the jokes that they told, the stories that they told. They'll be at a happy hour, cocktail hour at some point. When one of those girls gets married, they'll be at the wedding. They'll talk about, like, do you remember us trying to get the George Mason, and then we showed up and we beat them, and they'll be like, and that'll be it about the game. Yeah, we won 2 games.
Yeah.
Do you remember the airport? Do you remember, like, us not having our toothbrush, deodorant, our toothpaste, all this other stuff, and we just had to panic and just get down there?
My bag broke, all that stuff.
Yeah,
yes.
and like, that's the one thing that I miss the most about college was it wasn't the games. I can remember certain things about games, but it was the bus rides. It was the hanging out after. It was everything that you did other than actually play the sport that you were there for meant way more than any game possible.
Yes.
Plain and simple. I mean, I told you we were runner-up in the regional. We were 1 game away from going to the College World Series. I remember that, right? That was great. But I can tell you just as much, if not more, about that trip to Canton, Ohio, than I could about any of those games. That's what it was always about.
Cool.
It is, and I think
when you talk to people that leave the sport, man, they always miss the camaraderie.
Yeah,
they miss that the most.
And you still have it, you just don't have it every day. Yeah, like you do. Right?
Yeah, and to praise you and what we've been doing, it's I was talking to one of my players the other day, and I said I'm so fortunate and blessed because I got a great friend that I sit and talk to for a couple hours a week. Yeah, and then every Friday I sit and talk to my pastor. So it's like I get that fellowship and that camaraderie and those conversations out there. Just the things that we go through in a normal day. Toward your day as an adult. I know kids, you just want to get out and be an adult, but sometimes life just gets monotonous and it just gets routine, and it's just be here, and it's challenging. So to have moments like this show and those times to where it's like, man, it's comforting, to have these types of conversations and this friendship and fellowship. It means I couldn't even put a gauge on it.
It's awesome too to be able to sit here and talk about those types of things too, but in the same sense is we've kind of always done our show where we have very parallel lives. We share a career, we share a team. We have kids that are relatively close in age, going through a lot of the same stuff, but from a different perspective, a different spectrum.
Girls and guys.
Girls and boys.
Yep.
So it's always interesting to me to get what their perspective is, just as much as giving our perspective, being in our 40s and living life. And we've talked about this before too. There's nothing on this planet is new.
No.
It's all been done before.
Yes.
So anything that we can share from life experiences that can help, our kids, or
right.
When I say our kids, it's we both coach and are around a lot of people, so I include those groups in that as well. So
with perspective of different males, females, teenagers, just age groups and stuff like that. I went to last Friday. We got rained out in the game, so the team we all went to Skyline, and it was kind of one of those moments of, because I'm big on gratitude and just gratefulness in life, and I'm looking over the team and I'm like, man, and I just felt a sense of like just gratitude that I was in the position to coach them and just in that specific spot, and it dawned on me, I was like, what are they grateful for? Like, what's their perspective of all of this? So I challenged them to a little homework assignment over the weekend. I said, I want you to write somebody's name on top of a piece of paper and tell me why you're grateful for that person. So they all turned it in yesterday, and it was, I told them it was for my eyes only, but, I got home last night and I started reading all of what they're grateful for, who they're grateful for, and why they're grateful for them, and some of them, it was just one sentence. I said it could be one sentence or a paragraph. I don't care. Girl was like, oh, you said one sentence. I was like, yeah. And she's like, here. I was like, hey, that's what I said.
I need a 2-paragraph essay. Okay, that is all you were getting.
No, because sometimes in the conversation we had, and I'll digress after this, but it's when you were writing that letter about that person, how did that feel? And every one of them, you just see in their body language, like, it was neat. To put that person in that perspective and take time out of my day to give that type of thought and reflect on why I'm grateful for that person, they all agreed how cool that felt. And I was like, so guess what? Every Monday, I want a new letter, somebody that you're grateful for.
Sticking with gratitude, and this just kind of reminded me of something. When I first went away to school, email wasn't really that big.
Right.
It was there. Nobody really knew how to use it all that much, or where it was going, or whatever. So you actually would write letters, right? It's like you put yourself in high school, or again, it's like, hey, you hand a girl a note, right? She takes it to class and she reads it.
Football note.
And there's not that instant gratification to see what her response is. So then you're anxious. There's a lot of anxiety there. Like, what did she think about it? Did she circle yes? Did she circle no? It's like, nowadays, when you're talking about gratitude, because of the technology, because of certain things, like that instant gratification a lot of times is taken over.
Yeah. As
opposed to, like you were saying, where it's like, you're not really getting anything from this. It's I'm grateful for this person, even though this person may not know that it is. So, like, but I was thinking back of, like, writing actual letters, and, like, whatever, the post office, it might take a week to get there. And then it's like, if they respond, it might take them another week to respond. And then I get it. And then it's like 2 weeks. It's like, man, what did I write in that again? Like emails. Like, you go through the emails. It's like you get an email, a response, like a week later that you wrote it. It's like, oh, what was that about? Like, scroll through, like, hit the more button, like, oh, okay. Oh, got it. Okay. Now.
Forgot I said that.
Yeah, I totally forgot. So, no, I think that's really cool. I think that's a great idea. And there's some stuff in here that we're going to get to, and I'm going to tell you one of the stories that I used. It's a little bit different than gratitude, but I guess it kind of relates in a way. But as we get through here, we've got a topic here that I think I can tie that kind of in.
Yeah.
So we talked kind of about my weekend in the weather and the baseball and how awesome that was. I had a situation actually it's been over the last few weeks. Okay, over the last year, we built an outdoor area, right? We have a covered patio, stamped patio. We love it. It's nice. We've got nice furniture out there, but the furniture is all right now. I'm waiting for basically a day like today where it's 60 degrees, 70 degrees, and it looks like it's going to be that way. Like you're actually going to get spring instead of sprinter, whatever. And
That's a good word.
so, like, it's all still there, and so we don't use that area right now, other than like I can grill, start to grill, whatever. But during the day when I work, because Nicole works in what was formerly known as my office, which has now become her office 3 days a week, I'll work kind of in the chair, kind of by the window, kind of looking outside. It's funny that I'll watch and I saw this bird, I don't know, probably 3-4 weeks ago, like putting a nest up there. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, but it's cold.
Bad bird.
It's cold. I'm not going out there. I'm not going to shoo it away. And like, before you know it, like now there's a nest. I'm like, crap. I'm like, I got to get it before it lays eggs. Like, but I can't see up there. Like, I don't want to sweep it down, crush the egg, whatever. So then a couple weeks go by. It's still up there, and I see a cracked egg on the ground. And I'm like, I really don't care. Like, there was no emotion there. I just didn't want to be the one to sweep it and crack it on the thing.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, looks like somebody got it. And I kind of watched it to make sure no birds went back in there. And so yesterday, that nest is still up there. No birds had ever come to it. I'm like, okay, it's only a matter of time. I'll just knock it down. And then on the front corner, like we have, when it's nice out, we have the ability to put the TV out there, so like we can watch Reds games or whatever, kind of in the summertime, hang out there.
Yep.
It's just nice. So in that corner, I could see this gray bird. I don't know what kind of bird. It wasn't a cardinal, wasn't a robin, wasn't a dove. It was different than the other birds that were up there. It's grabbing grass and it's walking towards this corner. I'm like, oh no, we're not doing this. I'm like, worst case, use the other one that's already built for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're not doing this. I'm like,
Is there like bird code that a bird can't use another bird's nest?
I don't know. Is there a scent? Is there a taste?
I don't know.
Maybe is it comfort level? Like maybe it's not the Tempur-Pedic nest. Maybe they prefer a harder, fur.
Yeah,
so
the craftsmanship of this bird.
Yeah.
Crap.
So I'm out there. I got this broom. I'm like, nope. Bird goes away. Sure enough, 10 minutes back. I'm like, no. I'm literally. I left my. I call it my desk, but it's really the chair, like 3 different times. And then I went away, whatever, for like 2 hours, came back, freaking nest is built. I'm like, screw this. I put on a baseball helmet, walked out there with the broom. I got up on the ladder, swept the original nest down, got in there, swept all that away. Another 2 hours go by. Completely different bird, saw what that bird was doing, and started building a nest in the exact same spot.
Up, like, dude, I'm going to piss Tom off.
Yeah.
Watch this.
So I'm like, son of a... Got back to the helmet, got back to the ladder, swept it all away. I'm like, man, I got to stop this. So I had to go to Home Depot.
Buy an owl.
And I had seen these things before. So right where that bird is climbing up, I purchased one of these bobblehead owls. And, like, I set it...
Did you name it?
Hoot.
Hoot.
Yeah. It is screwed into the joist that goes across. So it's not going to blow down, but it is literally, like... Worst case, like, I'm like, even if they don't believe this is a real owl, they're going to have to climb over top of it to get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
And so, Hoot is out there staring away. No new nest has been built. And then this morning I'm sitting there, and that same damn bird, he's not building a nest, but he is, from me to you, looking right at Hoot. And I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, you better not. You better not. And I opened the door. He flew off. I hadn't seen him since. So far, Hoot is doing his job.
Hoot.
In the last 18 hours, Hoot is doing his job. So Hoot the owl, the fake owl, is there to keep those birds from building nests into the thing. So today, and then you brought up another point, the peer pressure on grass.
Yeah.
Again, it's been wet, and we've been at ball, and so the time has not been there. So today, my plan is to put the furniture back. My plan is to get out there and
fire up the mower
and cut the grass. Fortunately, neither of my neighbors have done it yet.
Ah,
So I'm going to be the
trendsetter.
one that's going to do. Yeah, that's going to be the. I'm going to be.
He's gonna stand at the end of your driveway with coffee, like, huh? So wonder when you guys are gonna get to this.
Can't believe these guys haven't cut their grass yet. You know what you're doing to the neighborhood?
Yeah, great house, neighbors. I don't know, kind of shady.
So, anyway, that's Hoot the Owl. We've had a topic to discuss over the last, I don't know, few weeks, and I really just want to kind of get it off the board, but I do think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Especially, when you're talking about growing up, and we've been fortunate enough here in Cincinnati to have Kings Island, and seeing Kings Island go from, a fun amusement park to like a tourist attraction, and they continue to put new stuff in, and
They're taking the Diamondback down.
really.
Yeah, I drove by it the other day, and I forget who was in the car with me. I was like, yeah, they're taking the Diamondback down. I guess it keeps like regularly having like problems. Like nobody's ever been hurt on it, but you know, safety check, protocol, things. I don't know, ground settling, movement, shifting.
I'll
it
say
keeps
this.
going through some stuff. They're taking it down.
It is about damn time.
Yeah, well, it's a short-lived one. Wait, not Diamondback. Yeah, the Diamondback. The new one. The
So there's the brand new one, which is the Giga Coaster.
that's not.
I forget what that is called. But that goes super fast, right?
Right.
So little history. It's probably been Carson's 17. It's probably been 12 years. No, it's been longer than that. It's probably been. I think he was like 2 or 3 when we went. We took a trip to Siesta Key. And Nicole's really good at planning like stuff and trips. So it's like not always. I like going to the beach every day, but like when you have a boy that's 2-3 years old, it's like sun burnt. There's only so much of that you can do.
Yeah.
And so like we were looking for trips and like, well, it was only an hour away from Tampa. So we made the journey up to Tampa and went to Busch Gardens, which if you haven't been to Busch Gardens,
Yep, half.
it is absolutely phenomenal. They've got part zoo, part amusement park.
Yep.
The unfortunate part or fortunate part was, with him only being 2 and it just being the 3 of us, like I didn't want to ride rides by myself. So we spent a lot of time just kind of in their equivalent, the zoo, and then the equivalent of Kittyland.
Yeah.
And so we're walking through Kittyland, and I saw there was this roller coaster, and it was like the scariest roller coaster that I had ever seen. Like it was super high drop, the people were standing, and it went down into this hole. And when it went down into the hole, it sprayed water up into the air and out onto the walkway that we were walking on. So if you can picture like Kings Island, like the Amazon, the Amazon Express, where like you have the bridge where kids stand there and they get soaked.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like that, not as big as the bridge, but it's kind of like that. And like I'm looking at it, it's like going straight down. They're standing up, everybody like getting wet. I'm like, that is a cool concept, but I'm like, there is no way in hell I'll ever ride that. Like
Do people still do that with phones? Just stand up there and get just soaked with the water? I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it used to be the funnest part.
I guess Ziploc bag or something.
I just walked around the daggone park wet all day, But this
Alexa, play How Do You Want It? Tupac.
How Do You Want It by Tupac.
this roller coaster was like just freaked me out. But I was fascinated by it. So like I stood there and watched like the roller coaster go like super fast. And as a kid, I remember like my first fear, like amusement park fears, right? You had a few weeks ago, month ago, whatever, you had the drop tower, right? Where somebody got killed on the drop tower. Like one, not in Kings Island, I think that was in Orlando. You'll never catch me on that anyway. I am deathly afraid of heights. Yeah. And that's happened. Have you ever seen that with you? Like, is there ever anything that as a kid, like you really didn't think about or care about, but then as you got older, a more sensible,
yes,
a little more aware,
100%.
Like all of a sudden, like this fear went from like no fear at all to like.
So our living room, as soon as you walk in, it's a 2-story entry. We got the chandelier up top. I had to change light bulbs. This was probably 2 years ago. Get the ladder, open it up, get the space. I climb up, and it's exactly what you're saying. Like I've done this a million times in my life. I climb the ladder, and I get toward the top, and as I stood up to reach for the bulb, I was like, "What just happened?"
Oh boy!
Like I looked around, I realized I was up, and I was like, my knees got a little queasy, and I was like, I climbed down the ladder, and I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, "What just happened?" I'm like, all right, now I mentally I'm prepared now. So I go back up to the ladder and I stop for a minute. Like, why? I guess just that feeling of like nothing around me, of just like complete. I don't know what it was, but it took my breath away, kind of threw me off centered, and that's an exact example of like I've never even given it 2 seconds of thought of heights, and that day I almost fell because I got weak in the knees.
What was always the saying if you went someplace high? What did they tell you?
Goes up, it's got to come down.
Don't look down. Don't look down, right? True. It was always on the car, like or cartoons, whatever. Somebody's on. Just don't look down. Just don't look down. What do you do?
I looked out the window and I was like, I grabbed the ladder, like, what just happened?
So I'm seeing this roller coaster and how high it was and how fast it's going, and it didn't hit me. I wasn't at that point afraid of heights like that. I didn't think. I never thought about it. And then a few years later, I think it was 2012. We went to, it was the game that the Reds clinched where Jay Bruce hit a home run against the Astros. And Carson was 7 or 8, Austin's 2 or 3, and I had Austin in a front carrier.
Awesome.
So like we didn't have to buy him a ticket, and he just sat on my lap, but our seats were up in the top level and then right on the edge. So like when it came time to stand up, that was the first moment where it hit me, like not only for me, but he's on the front and I'm like, I'm standing back, I'm back here, like I'm freaking out. And I'm trying to be cool, like, yeah, I'm standing up and I'm like holding on, like I'm not going anywhere, like I don't want to, like just completely freaked out. And then we go to Kings Island. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bite that fear. I'm gonna take a bite of it. I'm gonna do what
look your fear right in the eye and
and I'm just gonna do it because and the other thing that I when I'm on that I'm like, man, it's like getting on a plane. Like people fly all over the place, like every day, every hour. Knock on wood, rarely do you get plane crash, right? Same thing with kind of roller coasters. Like they're just constantly running and running and running, and people are getting off and they're loving it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try. The mistake I made was, this is twofold. Riding it by myself, and it was Diamondback. So going back to you saying it getting taken down and me saying it's about time, here's why. So this was like the first year.
I think it's only like 10 years old.
Yeah, so it was like the first year, and I think Nicole was either playing with Austin or Blake, and I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. And it was cool. I thought it was awesome. They had like single riders, so I didn't have to wait in a real long line. I just got to go up. But at the time, I'm 30-something years old, and I didn't have a partner to ride with me, so they put me in Diamondback. It's staggered. So you have 1 seat, 2 seats, 1, 2. So I'm on the outside of the 2-person.
Right.
And I'm surrounded by middle school boys and girls who are extremely excited to ride Diamondback. I wasn't very small, so they have this tiny little seat that is about, I don't know, probably that big, all of maybe 6 inches. Well, my butt's bigger than 6 inches. And I'm not very tall, so I can't reach the ground. So having my feet dangling is completely freaking me out. And on top of that, the thing that they put over me to strap me in also isn't exactly the tightest. So I'm like literally like floating in midair.
Yeah.
And we're going up, and these kids are loving it. They are just, I'm not talking to them. I'm just trying not to embarrass myself, pee myself, or whatever.
You got that sense of anxiety kicking in.
Completely. If you've ever ridden it, you go up.
Alexa, play Thank God for Believers, Mark Chestnut.
So you go up, and you're basically vertical, and it's going really slow. And that was the only time in my life that I've ever legitimately contemplated getting off the ride while it was going up. I'm not kidding. I am freaking out. It's getting higher and higher. At that point, it's the highest one. I am looking down. I'm like, I can get out of this. Like, I literally could get out of it. And I'm like, we're going to go.
Probably wouldn't have been a good idea, but
I'm like,
could've.
I'm looking for the ladder at this point. Like, I can make it. And then the ride goes off, and these people, they got their hands up. They're like 12, 13. They are loving it. I am here with, like, all I could grab on was this little tiny seat. I am white-knuckling this seat, and I am just screaming. And, like, I'm like, oh, this picture that they get is not going to be good at the bottom. And sure enough, like, I am hating every part about this ride. And I get off, and it's, like, literally, like, you got to fall to the ground. Like, oh, my God, thank God. I'm here. I survived. I'm like, man, when did I get so afraid of heights? Like, even going up to, I think that same trip, we went up to the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And, like, they're all walking to the edge, and I'm like, I'm standing back here by the elevator. Like, I can't even get to.
That's interesting.
Like, it is, I mean, I used to jump off of roofs.
Right.
With no issue whatsoever. But right now, like, now, like, even just, but Nicole, she'll get on, like, the swings that'll go super high.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, there's, not me. Like, the heights, like, that's
interesting.
My amusement park fear has nothing to do with speed, has nothing to do, has everything.
Maybe we're just so grounded in life as just people that once we leave it, we're just out of our element and we don't.
It used to be spinning things because I was more worried about getting sick.
Yeah.
You know, which it still is. I still don't ride them. But, like, I'll ride any roller coaster. And then, but, I mean.
That's fantastic.
That fear of heights. I want to ride the coaster just to, like, nip that fear. Just to say that I did it. So I have that experience.
It's a pretty smooth ride, though. I mean, it's not like her.
I've ridden it again. Yeah. Just because I wanted to ride it with somebody else.
Yeah.
But again, I was like literally so far out on my own island there, like I'm completely panicking. And meanwhile, like these boys and girls, oh yeah, this is awesome. And I'm like crying, you know, like, this is not awesome. I don't know what your definition of awesome is, but
that's just
not awesome.
Their mask, their protective device of it's just fun when they're really scared out of their mind.
So we went to Disney a few years ago, and Austin was like 4 or 5, and I was gonna break him early of this fear. And you got to put yourself in a kid's. It's a hilarious story. In my opinion. So we're riding Space Mountain, and I had ridden Space Mountain before. I'm trying to explain to him, like, it's inside. You know, it's going to go around. It's going to go real fast. It's dark. You won't be able to see very much. And again, he's like 4 or 5 years old. So he's like, okay. And like, I had forgotten the first time I had ridden it. Like,
I take off like out of the gate. Like,
well, originally I told him, I'm like, I'll be right next to you. You know, we'll be fine. You'll like this. When it's all done, you'll like this. And like, he's like, well, does it really go to space? And that's when bad me kicked in, and I went, yeah. Yeah, it does. It'll be fine. Look at all these other people they're coming off, they're laughing. Like, but yeah, I mean, it'll be cool. We're gonna go to space. Blah, blah. No, I'm not riding it. And I like,
that's dirty.
I had talked
but funny.
I had talked him out of like I'm gonna be with you. We'll be okay. Blah blah. Like, and then we get to the front, and I go, oh crap, it's single cars. So I'm not riding next to him. I'm behind him.
Right.
So like, he's like, I don't want to. I'm like, it's too late. We waited. It's Disney. We waited a long time. We're here. You're riding it. He's like, but does it go to space? I'm like, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So like, I'm pushing him into the cart, and he's going, excuse me. He's trying to get the attendant, excuse me. Does this really go to space? Does this? And I'm pushing him, and he's in the cart, and as it's going, I can remember, like, does this go to space? And like, then he gets off. He's like, he's in tears. He's like, oh my God. He's like, I'm so glad it's over. I'm like, was it fun? No, it wasn't fun. I'm like, all right, good. So the next day, like, good. We're at Animal
That's
Kingdom.
life's punishment for bringing you to the Diamondback, and that day for you doing that.
And
I don't believe in karma, but
I was gonna make him.
He was gonna about it.
He was gonna crush every fear with me. right? And
That's cool, man.
So like he wanted no part of it. It was totally parent forced, borderline child abuse.
Yes.
At that point. And
Eat your broccoli.
yeah,
Try it. Let's go to space. Just try it.
we'll get a snack when we're done. And like, there's one, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's at Animal Kingdom. It was actually a really cool ride. But if you're watching from the outside, they go up this mountain and they disappear into the mountain. And like, we were riding it with a couple people that we were with, and I'm like, let's get after yesterday, I'm like, dude, you can conquer anything. Let's get the front car. I don't want the front car. Like, well, what's the difference in the front car? Like, don't you want to see everything before everybody else does so you know what's kind of coming? No, I don't. Like, I'm like, we're riding the front car. So like, we're riding the very front car. We had never ridden this roller coaster before. And like, we're going up this thing. I told you my fear of heights, right? And he's next to me this time. But he's tiny, like tiny, like super, like he doesn't really have.
Just makes the cut.
Yeah, doesn't have like, he's not short. He's average height.
Oh yeah.
But like
Slender.
yes, like no fat whatsoever. And so like literally when we're riding stuff, like I'm keeping him back and whatever. And like so this thing, like you don't know what it is, and then you go through this cave and it's got the 7 dwarves and they're singing this song and blah 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 blah, and like you go up this hill. I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. It's like, but we're the front car.
Yeah.
So you get to the top of the hill, and you can't see this from the walkways. Like as you're watching, you know how you can watch the roller coaster and do it. No, this part disappears. So you get to the top, and you're going up this track, and you get to the very top of this track. And as you get to the top, the rest of the track drops down, like it breaks.
So like it's like nothing to see.
Nothing. You're going to the very edge. And the look on his face. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Oh, we're stuck. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? The track's broken. It'll be fine. We'll probably just jump it and we'll just go. Like, and he's like, jump it? What do you mean? There's no track. I'm like, just relax. It's fine. I'm right here with you. And I looked at him. I go, I think we're gonna go backwards now. He goes, backwards? Like he's totally freaked out. Like next thing you know, it goes backwards the same way it came in. Like, and he left that, and he's like. I was like, was that so bad? He goes, no. And I left it. I was like, that was the coolest roller coaster that I had ever ridden at Disney.
Yeah.
Like, it was like riding in the front car, seeing that drop, and it was like, it was fast. It wasn't like too kiddie, whatever.
Right.
But it was super cool. So, like, amusement park fears, I try to go and I try to nail.
Just get them.
Except for, unfortunately, like the drop stuff. Like, I don't do that.
Right.
There's too much that can go wrong, including gravity.
Just gravity wins every time.
Yeah. So anyway, we've had I put that on the docket ever since, not to make light of the obvious tragedy.
It's a real thing, though. I mean, you're right, man. You see,
but you see that in the
people
news,
at parks,
and that's
you see them scared. You see them stepping up. You see people in line. You hear conversations around you about exactly what you're talking about. Just facing your fears, going at it, and attacking it. We went to Kings Island, and our neighbor went with us, and he was a little younger, fun kid. And I just go along with the flow kind of guy, and we did the face-off, and we were looking right at him, and we're going.
That's a bad one.
And he's talking about how excited he was to ride with us and be out there. Oh man, Tom, if you could see the fear in this guy's face, and it made me laugh
because it's the same fear that I would have had.
Yes, and we get off the ride, and I'm like, Mark, I did not know you were that scared. He's like, everybody was going. I couldn't say no, and I'm like, Mark, you could have said no. Dude, I felt bad looking at the fear in your face. He's like, that was awful. Like, why did you get on it? Like, you just tell us no. I don't want to ride it. He's like, but everybody was going. I had to. It's like, oh,
so
come on, man.
there's something about
peer pressure.
Well, yes,
cutting your grass is real.
But
in riding roller coasters,
in terms of like when you're on a ride, like I need my feet on something.
Yeah.
And when you're riding that face off, that was the first time, and they're just hanging.
Yeah.
And you just feel absolutely zero control of anything.
Yeah.
And it's like you're leaning forward. It's like all I need is like one bolt on this thing to misfire, and I'm gone. And like standing. I used to like the King Cobra because you could stand.
Yeah.
Right. And like,
yeah, I remember that one.
That was a good roller coaster. I liked the Vortex was the first. The original fear was going upside down.
Yep.
Because you were gonna fall out.
And the corkscrews. And,
yeah.
Yep.
So like I bit the bullet and I was like, I'm gonna ride Vortex. It goes upside down 7 times. I'm like, it's freaking fantastic.
Yep.
Tried to get Austin to ride Vortex last year.
Overcoming fears. That's good.
It's a real thing.
It is.
It is a real
100%.
thing. You know, we spent a lot of time too, as we were growing up, was like once they did the water park, it was like, you know, adolescent in the summertime. It was like, so you had Surf Cincinnati or you had passes to Kings Island.
Or the beach.
Yep. Yeah. I've been to the beach once, but it was for Christmas. I've never been there. I had never been there when it was open. For
Me and
for the
Joe
summer.
Norman used to go there a lot.
Me and Rabe used to go. We had passes for Kings Island, so we'd go on Friday nights or whatever to Kings Island or Saturday, and we.
Surf Cincinnati.
What
was that dance they did? Splash dance that they
Was it
used to
splash
do?
dance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surf Cincinnati splash dance. Throwback.
Yeah, yes, very much so. A good water park's hard to beat.
I agree.
A good water park is hard to beat. Like I love Kings Island's water park. Santa Claus, Indiana, has a water park that is better than
Kings Island.
Kings Island. I would put their amusement park right up there with Kings Island.
Really?
Santa Claus, Indiana.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Christmas. They've got. It's all about times of the year too. Like it's Christmas in different spots. Like it's a cool place. Like not to get off on a tangent too much about amusement parks. But it's a giant amusement park. They got a campground there. They've got a lodge there. They've got like 5 legit wooden roller coasters. They've got metal roller coasters. I mean, I'm talking legit, like just like Kings Island's roller coasters.
Yeah.
Busch Gardens, Cedar Point. Those that's the type that they have, and then that's one half, and then the other half is a water park, which is equally as good.
Yeah.
They give out free. So with your admission, you get free soft drinks. Like you just basically, this was pre-COVID, so I don't know if it's still the case, but they basically had fountain drinks there, and they had cups. You stop off, you can get pop, Powerade, water, whatever, right there.
Sweet.
They had pump stations for sunscreen for free that you could get. It's a cool.
What's admission?
I couldn't remember.
$110?
No, I don't think it was that bad. I think it was
Really?
just average. But yeah,
pretty good.
it's
Speaking of COVID, see Philly's mask mandates indoors. The city of Philadelphia.
I
is
hope
going
that
back
stays
to-
in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking.
A few weeks ago, China was back on lockdown.
Yeah,
Then Europe started doing it, and then
But if you watch, like,
Philly's doing it.
you're talking about like opening day.
We were just
today.
up in Massachusetts 2 weeks ago, and there was nothing. There was no, and they're about as aggressive with it as any state, and I mean they had no mandates.
Well,
so.
the sports leagues, everybody's been going to the games. Everybody's been doing all these things. You know, we're looking right now at the opening day parade, and there are people. It's a sea of humanity down there.
Yeah.
You had the Masters this weekend. You had football and baseball and basketball. They've all gotten rid of all of their COVID related requirements. So, I mean, I have a hard time thinking. I mean, I guess anything's possible.
Right.
You want to be a conspiracy theorist? Midterm elections are coming up.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time seeing them forcing that back on people again.
Yeah.
I could see them trying to do it. I think if you thought the feedback and the pushback was bad before, you're not you can't unring the bell that's going on right now downtown Cincinnati.
No, can't do it.
And so, yeah, I'm not a big fan of going back in time.
No.
So
unless I got a DeLorean.
Correct. Biggest Chris Jones. Good to see you, Chris. Biggest peer pressure cutting grass. So yeah, we talked about that, and I'm going to be today.
You're doing it, man.
After our show. If my neighbors are listening and you want to get out ahead of me,
here's your chance.
You better do it now.
Here's your chance.
It's happening.
So I don't have sidewalks through our neighborhood, so we've got little ravine.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's wet. It's got water in it, so I can't really.
Interesting question. You remember playing football in the front yard, and like here in Corning Township, a lot of like the neighborhoods, they have the sidewalk and then the other section of grass.
Yep.
Who owns that section of grass?
I've been told it's like the city owns it. It's the county, but I'm pretty sure that they don't, and it's yours. I don't know.
Get off my lawn. I'm not on your lawn. The city owns it.
Yeah.
Can't touch me. Can't
Your,
touch
your
me.
property steps at the sidewalk.
You can't touch me. Can't do anything about it. Call the cops. Go ahead. I'm not on your property. I don't know why I thought of that, but when you said we don't have sidewalks, I was like, huh, who does?
Yeah, so I own mine all the way to the street. Then. There's no divider.
Yeah, get off my property.
Yeah.
It's not your property. Oh, yeah, it is.
And we live on a bend, and there used to be 3 arrow signs coming off the bend, like, hey, left turn, ahead. They took those down. They put a 25 miles speed limit sign. Speed limit guy sign smoked. Tire tracks through the yard, come out. It's like, that sucks. And then the winter, there was another car came across, went behind our mailbox, crossed our driveway, and came back out onto the other side. So we just see tire tracks. I'm glad nobody was parked at the back end of the driveway because that would have got smoked.
Okay, not to interrupt you, but a few weeks ago we talked about my pedal wagon trip. Just look at how happy those people are. Like, that's got to be early.
Well, that guy's happy because he ain't pedaling.
He's not even carrying his weight. That's got to be one that's got a motor on it. There's no way. There's no way.
He's just reaping the benefits of everybody else's work.
So the smile on their faces and the happiness that they got, like, look, that guy's just holding a camera. Like, he's not pedaling. Like, it's not nearly as fun as what these people are probably making out to be. Just FYI, it looks like fun. Don't get any bright ideas of going downtown and renting a pedal wagon. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a terrible experience unless it's got a motor. If you want a motor, I would just recommend, like, basically just having somebody else drive you down there. Sit in the back of a truck.
A horse and buggy.
Yeah, there you go. Man, we've went a little far. Easter's this weekend.
Yeah.
Any special Easter plans? So we are doing Easter here. Do you have any type of Easter traditions that people
we
do?
used to do
Easter
the
egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt for the kids. They're a little older now, so it's how you feel about Christmas and the magic of Christmas. We used to have that for Easter, but it's aged out, if you will.
I saw an interesting meme, or whatever you want to call it. It showed a picture of 2 kids with their young kids with their Easter baskets and the grass and the bunnies and the chocolates and everything else, and then it was like, when your kids get older, and there was like a boy and a girl, and they were probably late teens. They've got laundry basket, and inside the laundry basket's like paper towels, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, like everything else. Like, it's kind of true. Yeah. So yeah, we do an Easter egg hunt here still. Our neighborhood does one too.
That's cool.
Traditions, any type of like Christmas, like there's certain types of food that you get with Christmas and Thanksgiving. The turkey.
Yeah.
Is there anything food-wise that comes to your mind?
Deviled eggs.
Like deviled eggs, okay.
Ham.
Ham. Okay, that's good because that's kind of where I was going. So, like, we're doing Easter here, and so, and do I do a ham? And with baseball and everything that have been going on, like, I didn't even know when Easter was, like, date-wise. And, like, last week, like, Nicole's getting texts, like, hey, what do you want me to bring? What are you guys doing so that I can match up? We know, whatever. I'm like, when is Easter? Oh, man, I haven't even thought about what we're doing.
Yeah, it snuck up.
I'm like, wow, it's coming up. I'm like, shoot. All right. I don't know. So, like, Nicole was like, hey, do you want to go to Sam's? I'm like, yeah, let's go, whatever. Just had to pick up a couple things. Like, so we go to Sam's. We're walking around. I'm like, when you put a meat guy in the meat aisle, like, I'm just walking. I'm like, maybe I'll look and see what we can get here. So, like, I've got my app on my phone for the recipe and everything, and I'm like, I'm just going to get this beef tenderloins. I got this big old strap of beef. I've never done one ever in my life. I was like, I wonder how this fits. And then so, like, last night, parents were like, I'm not doing ham. What? You're not doing ham? I'm like, no, I'm not doing ham. I'm doing beef this time. Like, I didn't really associate a certain food, like turkey and Thanksgiving or anything like that. Ham at Christmas. Like,
yeah.
It's interesting. So, anyway, I'll fill you in next week on how that turns out. I had the note there. Is kind of so. Big sports week this week. One of the topics, these sayings you get all the time, is like cream rises to the top, right?
Yes.
And so I'm going to use that in terms of kind of the Masters, right? And you had there was an interesting week here, whereas Tiger Woods, nobody knew he was even going to play golf again.
Yeah, I remember when everything went down, and you and I were talking about what is he going to do with the rest of his life? Is he going to get focused on the kid? Is he going to let golf go? Is he going to just move on?
Yeah.
And it's two-part this to see him come back and compete. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
to play really, really good golf all weekend. I mean, you're not going to win every single tournament. There's going to be days where you're under. There's going to be days where you shoot over, and blah 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 blah. So like his scores that he had over the weekend. Yes, he didn't win the tournament, but for him to come out the first day, shoot under par, and like the interest.
Yeah.
in it.
So my cousin sent. So Matt, going back to Matt, he sent a comment of who. Let me read his text. Who is basically number 2 most influential athlete on the planet?
So
Everyone is behind Tiger Woods.
Okay. See, because I didn't take it that way. Not that that's wrong or at all. Because that was going to be my next question. Was okay if we're talking about number 2, who was number 1?
Yeah.
And so he's of the opinion that Tiger
So it's
Woods.
Tiger, and then everybody discussed who is the second most influential athlete. And the conversation him and I had, it kept going because it was like, let's do ever. Worldwide, we're talking globally. So and once you introduce the whole globe to this situation, it's like, all right, now you got to eliminate a lot of American sports. Unfortunately, I think Michael Jordan broke that barrier with how massive he was. But you're looking at a soccer player, a golfer, or a tennis player.
Muhammad Ali.
And he actually said Muhammad Ali. So that we had Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, and Tiger Woods, and we don't know enough about soccer. Pele, probably did it.
Beckham, probably,
Beckham when he
was
came
kind
here, he was massive
of
globally.
trendsetter, whatever you want to say.
You had a few tennis players there's just Agassi that we would know of.
Agassi was good.
McEnroe.
But we came from retail too, where like these people had shoe deals.
Yeah.
And but who started that? MJ, right?
So, yes. So in that argument, and not argument, and poor choice of words, but in that discussion we had, because I don't think there was any disagreement. It was fun conversation to navigate through of the most influential athlete. And Tiger Woods has completely changed dress
So
for a sport and for just society. People dress different because of the influence of Tiger Woods.
this is part of the story. Remember earlier in the show I told you that we're going to come back to
Yep.
a story. So I'm coaching these 12-year-olds, and we've played in 2 different tournaments. It's a group of personalities that have come from different spots, and they're really just kind of getting to know each other. Especially when you're talking about playing on the field, and they're becoming close, and they're battling for each other, and everybody wants to. They know they're a pretty good team, so everybody constantly expects to succeed, right? And
Yeah.
different attitudes, and how do you react to those attitudes? So you've got the one player who's gotten hit twice, and you're watching. If you watch Major League Baseball now, you're seeing people come strutting off the mound. You're seeing a lot of trash talking, and so there's some of that goes on, right? And I'm kind of used to it at an 18-year-old level, kind of that we're kind of where we've been over the last few years. I'm used to that, and it doesn't bother me as much because I do think that it's a little bit of gamesmanship, a little bit of fun. Both teams are kind of doing it, and then they kind of understand most of the time that when the game is over, it's over, and they move on.
Correct.
Right? And one team's laughing at the other, and blah 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 blah. But it's hard for me at the 12-year-old group to watch the kind of the go back and forth, and I'm all about being a competitor. Like I told you, I was all about him getting hit twice, hitting the bomb, flipping the bat. Like I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. You got hit twice, like that's the game of baseball, tit for tat. Same thing. Now on the flip side, you get hit the next time, yeah, you earned that. You deserve that one too. That's that tit for tat, right?
Yep.
That's the game. But there's a lot of kind of going back and forth, and people pouting and talking to each other, and not infighting amongst our team, but just like we don't want, as an organization, as a group, as a team, we don't want to get caught up in that. And I was thinking, this was after Saturday's game, I was thinking, like, man, I really could use a story to kind of tell them. And so I before the games on Sunday, I pulled them apart, or pulled them aside and said, hey, you know, we want our play on the field to do the talking for us.
Mm-hmm.
Shut your mouth. Do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, when we had the dry rate, play.
Yeah.
PLA, just play.
So I'm going to tell you guys a story. I said, have you guys ever heard of Jackie Robinson? I said, this is different. It's not nearly on the
That's
same
another name that's...
perspective.
Yep.
Right? I said, do you know who he is? And they said, yeah. They said, he's the first African-American black Major League Baseball player. I was like, good. Okay. I said, do you think the attitude back then was different? It was a predominantly or all-white sport.
Mm-hmm.
He comes, it's new, it's different. They don't think very highly of him. Do you think they liked this new athlete coming on that they didn't feel belonged with them? No, not at all. I said, you're right. They didn't. The attitude towards him was not good.
Yeah.
He got spit on. He got called every name in the book. He got pushed. He got punched. He got spiked. He got everything, every dirty thing that you can possibly imagine was happening to him. Do you think that he pushed, punched, spit, talked, did any of that stuff back to them?
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of like, no. I'm like, you're right. He didn't. Because he realized that if he did that, the impact that would have on the ability for other minorities to enter this world that he's been, at this point, fortunate enough to enter into.
Yeah.
The segregated world of white, black, Negro leagues, Major League Baseball, he has crossed over into Major League Baseball. I said, he had the utmost ability, and how I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, no.
To literally let your play speak for itself without fighting back, without talking back, without using words, without using anything else. His play determined the future of many, many, many generations, which opened the door for every race, ethnicity, everything imaginable.
Yeah, and it earned a lot. He was respected at the end of the day.
Correct.
At the end of the career, he was respected because they threw literally everything at the guy, and he was stoic enough to where it publicly it didn't faze him. We don't know what went on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
But
you couldn't show that weakness.
No.
As much as it hurt, there had to be.
You're not good enough to rattle my cage.
There had
That's
to,
incredible.
Yeah, and so like as we're reading, as you sent me that text from Matt, and the way I read it was like, okay, he's kind of saying Tiger Woods is number 2.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, if Tiger Woods is number 2, there's a lot of people, including Tiger Woods, that could be number 1. And so like that, I went right to Jackie Robinson.
That's a good one. That didn't come up. That's a good one.
Yeah,
so I don't know that he was globally,
because without Jackie Robinson, is there a Tiger Woods?
No.
Is that
Well, there was eventually going to be another Jackie Robinson, right?
at some point you would think.
Right. No, on that level, no. I mean, he you can say Jackie was the grandfather to.
You're talking
the impact of everything.
Influential in sports. Yes.
Yeah.
I do think eventually there would have been somebody else.
Yeah. So without Jackie, there is. Yeah. I think that's a legit.
So that's kind of where
topic
I go.
to navigate through on that. Yeah.
Now you could talk about like the retail side of things, the world stage.
Yeah, just viewership from when Tiger's in a tournament and when he's not. Like the ratings
ridiculous.
it's just not even close.
Muhammad Ali, it's kind of the same deal for
the Bulls when they had a road game sold out. When they're not playing there, 50% occupancy.
Yeah.
So the impact that Michael Jordan had on an arena when he was playing anywhere.
Yeah.
He sold the place out, the bars before. I mean, it was just. Again, we don't. The Serena and Venus they were, I think, as influential as Tiger Woods for their global impact, because they as Muhammad Ali would say, they shook up the world.
Yeah.
They were
It's true.
Incredible icons that were globally relevant, because tennis is one of those global sports. Soccer's that global sport, and golf's that global sport. So, in baseball, yes, it's more of an American thing, and Japan, and your Dominican Republic, but
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and there's no
baseball's
real,
not as big in Europe.
there's no real no, it's not. There's no real wrong answer, I don't think, to who is the most influential. I think it all ultimately depends on what perspective you're looking for.
Yeah,
I think if you're looking for just overall sports, to me, the most influential is Jackie Robinson.
yeah, and that's
I think if you're talking about modernization of things, of whether it's monetary, whether it's viewership, whether it's being world renowned. I mean, you can look at a lot of things. Michael Jackson,
yeah, I think you'd almost have to put them in two different lanes.
yeah. Because I think
So that would probably be my two front runners. What Jackie Robinson did for sports,
yeah,
period, not just baseball, all sports, is
Joe Louis. Joe Louis,
mm-hmm.
boxer. I want to say my timeline could be wrong, but I think he was before Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's that's an interesting take. So now on to the main thing. We'll mention this just because it's sad. Dwayne Haskins passed away.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, don't have all the details on it, but just sudden. Like, it just kind of weird suddenness. Just, we always talk about how football is always front and center, and always football season really never ends. And then kind of there wasn't a whole lot of football news going on, and then Dwayne Haskins passed away. It's like, wow, man, like, that's just insane. And it's funny.
I feel it's a moment of feeling guilty and just confession. Is I saw on Twitter, because I didn't know what happened.
I know where you're going here.
So I saw a thing on Dwayne Haskins. I was like, who cares?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh.
So another topic that we
felt
have
kind of bad.
that we have on here. We should have saved this. We should have saved this for next week.
We still can.
But we have a topic that we've had on here for 2 weeks.
Bad journalism.
Bad journalism.
Adam Schefter
Yeah.
jumping the gun.
And man, they crushed him. Him and Gil Brandt, they crushed, and rightfully so.
I
mean, if you
agree.
read it, it was just like,
Time and place, brother.
do we really care about his football stats?
Right.
Don't care.
None. Zero.
His family don't care. His friends don't care. His teammates don't
I
care.
think the Steelers posted it, and it was just, and there was no wording with it. That's where the who care came. It was just a picture, like a silver background. It was kind of like him standing, and I was just like, what's the point? Are they? And I was looking for wording. Did they announce him as a starter? Like, what's like?
Yeah.
I don't.
That was kind of my first thought too.
I was like, okay. And I was like, oh no. And then I felt bad because I thought, who cares? And it was to symbolize the guy. And then I read that, and it's just like, come on, man. Like, get out of your. Just take sports out of it, man.
Become
just
a human.
Get out of
yeah.
it. Yes, like a human being passed away.
Interesting. He just happened to play football. That's it.
Correct. Yeah.
So that sucks, especially friends, family, Buckeye fans. I'm not a Buckeye fan, but you always just hate to. Obviously, he was well liked. People thought highly of him, regardless of whatever stats, whatever game, whatever it was that he did with his life. It's just a tragedy. So on from tragedy. As we wrap up, it's been I couldn't believe this, but it's actually been 3 years since they've been able to have Reds opening day.
Oh my goodness.
Which
COVID?
seems like forever.
Really?
So, like, all this stuff going on right now.
I mean, it's big, man. We've been watching it for a while.
Yeah, it's huge. It's still going
semis
on.
in. Like, this is intense.
Yeah, it's a big, huge party. Opening day in Cincinnati is a holiday. It's funny because I've been a handful of times. I love going down there. I remember being in high school and even in college, we always had games on opening day, and like I would turn on the radio to Marty and Joe, and like we'd be taking batting practice and listening to the radio, Marty and Joe, and the pregame and like WLW and all the stuff that they did, like the celebration and all the stuff that they did before. They're at, this was even before. This is when you would go to Fountain Square. This is before the banks. Now it's like everybody's at Holy Grail, and like I love I'm sure it'll come out, the aerial photo that will come out today or tomorrow of what that Dora district looks like, because the Dora district, which is where you're allowed to bring drinks, they sell drinks on the street down by the banks, and you can walk around from place to place,
Right.
as long as you have the Dora glass or cup. This is the first time that opening day has had the Dora district.
Ooh.
So it'll be interesting to see that photos. I think it's just going to be a sea of red. It's going to be amazing because nobody does opening day better
No, nobody's even close.
than Cincinnati.
There's other major league towns like I didn't even know, like they don't even do anything like
Nothing.
this. Nothing.
No, this is our.
That's why we should.
We should
I
open
get
up
mad every year.
Yeah.
Reds should start baseball season every year.
and have
I love my Cubs.
this parade should be on MLB Network.
Baseball has started. MLB's first team, Cincinnati Reds, getting it started off like they should every year.
So yeah, it's a holiday. The parade, like I said before, Austin and Blake and their grandma, they're down at the parade. I haven't seen them on TV yet, but if they ask, I'll tell them I saw them. But yeah, you guys were there. Saw you. It was great. Could see you dancing. The party. But it brings me to, and we'll wrap up with this. You didn't think that we would have our Unsung Heroes segment.
Oh, I saw the note.
And with that Dora district opening up, and a good friend of mine, he manages Holy Grail. I've been down there the night before, them getting set up for opening day. I've seen what he goes through. The amount of, it is, I want to say it's the most beer sales, definitely for them all year long. But I want to say it's either in the state or country. Like the amount of beer that is sold,
Wow.
it's insane.
I could see that because
It's
it is it's what it's built toward.
So, beer is best when served cold. But some poor schlep has got to continue to make, especially on 70-degree day, continue to make a trek from the beer cooler to the ice cooler. From ice to the beer. Back to ice to more beer. Some son of a gun is tracking ice all day long today from one place to another place to another place. So my unsung hero is the icebacker guy.
Yes, that's a good one.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Icebacker guy, for making sure our Dora district and our parade is the best ever because they have cold beer, and it's because of you. So if nobody thanks you
on a day
today,
like today when the weather's good, they're like, oh, can you imagine
Yeah.
if it's 80 today?
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Icepacker Bagger guy.
Yes.
You are the man. Don't let anybody let you forget it. Without you, this day would not be the same. So thank you.
I agree.
And with that, I think we've said enough. Alexa, play center field.
Center Field by John Fogerty on Amazon
John
Music.
Fogerty's got a voice for opening day, too.
Yeah.
So with that, happy opening day.
Happy opening day.
Everybody, happy Easter. Be safe, have fun, go Reds. We are out of here.